Okay, this video will help us to review the nouns unit that we've been studying in language arts class. So as you can see, what are nouns? Nouns name a person, place, thing, or quality. And I know in class this year we really focused on the quality word. That was one that was a little bit new this year coming into fifth grade. So always remember qualities can be nouns also. Categories of nouns that we've learned this year. Common nouns name any one of a class of objects, are always written with lowercase letters. Examples would include man, lady, school, gym, desk, pencil, freedom, happiness, and bravery. And those would be examples of qualities right here. Freedom, happiness, and bravery. So let's take a look at the next section. Proper nouns, another category of nouns. These name a specific person, place, thing, and they are always capitalized. Always remember you have to have capital letters for proper nouns. So examples would include Mr. Gallagher, Abraham Lincoln, Boyce Middle School, PNC Park, November, and Mississippi River. So this unit we've worked on locating and identifying proper and common nouns in sentences. So let's take a look at that in the practice section. So as the directions say in the sentences below, circle proper nouns and underline common nouns. So number one, the United States of America is the nation in which we live. So looking at that sentence, United States of America would be a proper noun, so we'll circle that one. Nation would be a common noun, naming a place or a thing. So we have United States of America and nation in number one being nouns. Number two, all of the friends attended the game at Beaver Stadium. So friends would be a group of people, common noun. Game would be a thing. And Beaver Stadium would be proper noun naming a place. And you can clearly see the capital letters for the two proper nouns so far in 1 and 2. Number three, we went to the Olive Garden for dinner as a family. So the Olive Garden would be a name of a proper restaurant, proper noun. Circle that one. Dinner would be a thing, common noun. And family would be a group of people, common noun. Number four, our team does very well at Boyce Middle School. So team would be a group of people or a thing, and Boyce Middle School would be proper noun. Number five, a student asked a great question about Native Americans. So student would be the name of a person, question would be the name of a thing, and Native Americans would be a proper name of a group of people. And as you can see, we did not include great in number five. Great would be an adjective describing the question. And looking at these sentences, you can see some had common, some had proper. Most of these had both. We know that sentences could have either common or proper nouns, or they could have both in the sentence. All right, we'll take a look at the next section of the review now. And that takes us to singular nouns. Singular nouns name one person, place, thing, or quality. In class we talked about how the word single means one, means about the same as singular. We talked about, if a baseball player hits a single, they get one base. If you have a single scoop of ice cream, you get one scoop. So single would be one. Examples now: scientist, teacher, store, mall, tree, wall. Honesty, again, quality, and determination would be another quality, a singular noun. Plural nouns we talked about in class name more than one person, place, or thing, and they often end in s or es as well. Not always, but often. We talked about those rule breakers or those irregular nouns as well. We'll see a couple of those in the examples. So the examples: ladies would be a plural noun, the ies ending. Journeys, one ending in EY. Remember in class how we said in class we had to keep the EY and add an S to a noun like that. Men and children would be the examples of the rule breakers that do not end in S to make plural or ES. Irregular nouns where you have to change the spelling. and basketballs would be another example of a proper noun or a plural noun. So the practice now. In the sentences below, circle singular nouns and place a rectangle around plural nouns. So let's take a look at number 1. Number 1 is showing us an example that says a botanist is a scientist who studies plants. So in that example, I see a singular noun, botanist, so I'm going to circle that one. Scientist would be another singular noun, both people. And plants would be a plural noun, so I'm going to put a rectangle around the word plants, naming more than one. Okay, number 2, the Egyptians built gardens to observe plants. So in that example, Egyptians would be a plural noun. That's a proper noun as well, so remember, singular and plural can be common or proper nouns. Gardens would be singular, and plants would be singular. Okay, moving along to number 3. All of the women prepared the dinners for the family. Women would be an example of a plural noun, a rule breaker because it does not end in s or es, changes spelling from woman to woman, woman to women. Then we have dinners, also naming a plural noun for a thing. So put a rectangle around dinners, and family would be a singular noun, naming one group of people. Number 4, several pumpkins were growing in the vegetable garden. So we see pumpkins as a plural noun. Put rectangle around pumpkins, and we'll place a circle around garden only. Garden is a singular noun. Be careful not to include vegetable because vegetable in sentence 4 is an example of an adjective describing the garden. And then moving on to number 5. Number 5 looks like it might be cutting off just a little bit, so I want to make this just a little bit smaller so that we can see that one better in the screen. Let's see here. There we go. Looks like we can see that a little bit better, but now that it's in the screen. Number 5, numerous red strawberries were sold at the grocery store. Looking at 5, is 5 again disappearing on us. Let's pull that back in there real quickly here. Just want to make sure it's showing up in the screen for us. Make this just a little bit smaller. I'm going to clear what we have so far so we can just take a look at 5. There we go. So number 5, numerous red strawberries were sold at the grocery store. Strawberries would be an example of a plural noun. So we're going to put a rectangle around strawberries, and also store would be an example of a singular noun. So we're going to place a circle around store. And I'm going to go back through these answers just so you can see them all together again. We had botanist and scientist singular in number 1. Plants is plural. Egyptians is plural. Gardens is plural. And plants was plural. So number 2 actually had all plural nouns, and that's possible as well, where you could have a sentence with all plural or all singular. Women's plural, the rule breaker again. Dinners and family. Family was singular. And then 4, pumpkins, plural, and garden, singular. I want to look back again one more time at numbers 4 and 5. Vegetable, again, was an adjective describing the garden. And in 5, numerous and red, both describing strawberries. Grocery, describing store. So do not include those adjectives with the nouns. So that kind of reviews singular and plural nouns pretty well for us. And then the last section of the review is what we've just been working on in class, possessive nouns. And we have 2 different categories of possessive nouns. Singular possessive nouns are a noun that shows possession or ownership over another noun. And to make a singular possessive noun, you add apostrophe s to form singular possessive nouns. Examples would include the cat's tail, a painter's supplies, the president's advisors, and the city's buildings, all singular possessive nouns. So in the practice, it says write the possessive noun form of the phrase below. So let's take a look at number 1. The mural was the idea of Willie. We talked about in class how the word of would also indicate ownership. So whatever noun is coming after of would be the possessive noun that we want to make own the other object. So looking at that one, we would change it to Willie's apostrophe s idea. That makes it possessive now. Number 2, we borrowed the paints of Mr. Grogan. So if we think about, who or what's owning something again, Mr. Grogan owns the paints. Mr. Grogan's paints. Number 3, I thought we drew the sails of the boat. So this one, it would be the boat's sails, because that boat is owning the sails on that one. And 4, at the beginning of the sentence this time, the bristles of the paintbrush kept falling out. So this one would be the paintbrushes bristles. Again, paintbrush is singular, add apostrophe s to make it possessive. And finally, Ryan painted the face of the grandfather. It would be the grandfather's face. So as you can see, in singular possessive nouns, we always want to add apostrophe s to make it possessive. Okay, that's the key. Apostrophe s for singular possessive nouns to make them possessive. Always remember that. So the last type of noun were the plural possessive nouns, and those were the kind of more challenging ones at times to see. So let's take a look at those rules. Plural possessive nouns are a noun that shows possession or ownership over another noun. We had 2 different rules that we studied in class. We add only an apostrophe to plural nouns that are already ending in s or es. And if it does not end in s or es, those rule breakers, we do need to add an apostrophe and an s to make it possessive. So the examples, the orchestras already ends in s as a plural. Just add the apostrophe after the s to make it possessive over the directors, the orchestra's directors. My cousin's houses, cousins also ends in s. We just add an apostrophe after it. Our friends' cars, friends again ends in s already. Add the apostrophe after it to make it possessive. Women, here's a rule breaker, the women apostrophe s dresses to make it plural possessive. And then another rule breaker, several men's suits, men apostrophe s suits. So let's take a look at the practice. At the bottom, we have to make the possessive form of the phrase again. So looking at 1, the instruments of the musicians would be the musicians, already ends in s. Add the apostrophe after the s, instruments. Number 2, the chairs of the spectators. Ends in s already right here, so it would be the spectators. Add the apostrophe after the s, chairs. Number 3, the performance of the players would be the players, ends in s already, apostrophe, performance. Number 4, the help of the ushers would be the ushers, apostrophe after the s again, help. So all of these ended in s already, so we just added the apostrophe after the s to make it possessive. Number 5, the first rule breaker, the choir of the children. To make that possessive, it'll be the children's apostrophe s, right? It's not ending in s already, so we have to add the apostrophe s, choir. The seats of the balconies, number 6, would be the balconies, seats. And finally, the families of the men would be the men, apostrophe s, because it doesn't end in s already, families. Hopefully this nouns review will help us to prepare for the upcoming assessment on the Nouns unit